who's next?
That was our number 3, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
so I think
Or
it's
we're on our
Eric.
number 3. Yeah, it's me. This might eliminate one from your list, Connor. I went with War for the Planet of the Apes.
That is my number one pick.
Yeah,
Straight
that.
up. Okay, okay. Good. We'll talk about this right now.
Yeah,
No
that-
trilogy since The Dark Knight has rocked me to my core on every level than these movies. Because I went into Rise of the Planet of the Apes. I was like, I mean, this looks interesting,
Same.
and I left that movie like, holy shit.
That movie. Well, I watched it
that
recently.
movie
That movie's
is
great.
unexpectedly shocking.
Yeah.
For a
Yeah.
movie
And
with Draco
really-
Malfoy and James Franco, like
Okay, right, on paper, no film with James Franco should be taken seriously on paper.
No.
However,
yeah,
and
and then he makes this.
He's not even,
Except
like,
for
the
when he does
strongest
Tommy
part
Wiseau impressions. That's
That's
expected.
amazing.
This movie leads up to a moment
did
that
not-
that hushed my theater, and I think everyone knows
Yeah.
what I'm talking about.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
the enclosure scene where Caesar says no for the first time. And that happened, and to this day I watch that and my skin crawls. I'm like, that is terrifying.
Yeah.
One, because like it's the way he delivers it, and two, if you're a person and you're watching someone beat on an animal and that animal stands up and speaks to you in your language,
Mhm.
that's an evolutionary step no one's ready for.
Yeah, and also
Yeah.
as I'm actually kind of a big Planet of the Apes fan, and as somebody who knows a lot about Planet of the Apes lore, I remember sitting in that theater and thinking, this is just gonna be them using the name to get people in the seats. This is like I felt the same way you guys felt about Power Rangers. Like this is nostalgia, and this is people playing on older people's nostalgia. There are so many little references, and just in the first movie, to things that
The
happened
first
in
movie,
original.
the first movie
Yeah.
has a very quick reference to the space mission, does
Yeah.
it not?
Yes, it
Yeah,
does.
it
It
does.
does. And I mean, there are things that they add, like Caesar's like flag, which kind of gets lost in the later movies, is his window. But that was such like a interesting little
So-
piece.
So I have a is Planet of the Apes book based on a book?
It is based off of a book.
Oh yeah, wasn't it a
And-
French book?
The script was written by Rod Sterling. I don't know. I don't
Yeah,
think he
I
wrote
knew
the
that.
book. But he
Right.
adapted it. So
But then like that was Rise, and like you get to Dawn.
Dawn is.
Dawn is a visceral movie.
Yeah,
it is.
And like these movies get progressively heavier as they go along.
yeah,
And
and the
by the
themes
time you
that
got-
they're touching
by
on.
the time you get to War for the Planet of the Apes, there are apes getting crucified. They are getting
Yep.
executed for not doing slave work.
I mean,
Caesar treks across an icy wilderness to go to go exact revenge.
Yeah. There's
On Woody Harrelson's fucking disgusting character who I can't stand.
There's an
Uh,
ape internment camp, which
Yeah.
is
What?
there's an
Yes.
Yeah.
which in our current climate, unfortunately, is very interesting.
Honor, War for the Planet of the Apes is so politically relevant it hurts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like you haven't seen it yet, have you?
No, I have not.
Okay,
Well, okay.
there's a
Oh,
quick spoiler for the beginning if you don't mind.
I don't
Um,
care. It's fine.
Okay,
This
so
is
they,
the
like,
part that I
they-
don't like, though. The beginning is the part that I dislike the most, but I
Um,
understand why they did it.
So Caesar, there's a siege on his camp again by humans, and Caesar kind of says like and apes are now traitors too. Like they side with the humans after the second movie because some of them are like, hey, Kobo was right.
Yeah.
So
Kobo
they go
was
back
right.
and say but the humans
Hashtag.
treat them like shit, and then they spray paint donkey on their backs and treat them like pack mules.
yeah.
Oh.
So they get they fend off the siege, and then Caesar's like, I'm showing you mercy. Please leave me and my people alone.
Mhm.
And then then he goes home, and his family's there. He has a wife. He has a child. Woody Harrelson takes what's basically a special ops team, sneaks into his home, and kills his wife and son with gunshots to the head.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah, and he narrowly
That
misses
sets-
his baby.
And that set like Caesar's
What
like
the fuck?
Caesar's like everything I've learned from this point is null and void. I'm gonna kill this man.
Yeah, it becomes like this revenge.
It becomes
epic.
this nasty revenge movie that turns into a rescue mission because when he goes to find Woody Harrelson's character, they snagged his entire community on their trek to a different basically a new home.
Mhm.
They want to leave the humans. They're like, let's just go. Let's get away from these people. Let's go live on our own. And on their way there, Woody Harrelson's team captures them and puts them in a slave camp and makes
Yeah.
them build a.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
while we're doing this, I was looking for this on PlayStation Video, and it's on sale. So I guess I'm watching that after this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
you
is
should.
very
It's
good. And Woody
worth it.
Harrelson's character is fucking gross.
And
It's
It's
implied
shades
that
of
he
Kurtz.
yeah,
it's
I've said it many
implied that
times. He's
he
doing a
kills
Brando
one-
impression.
kills one of his family members because they're sick, and he
Yeah.
thinks they've now become basically, from a species perspective, genetically inferior, and he can't allow that to continue, so
And
he
this
executes.
this is another thing, like the references to the old movies. When you watch the first Planet of the Apes, the humans can't speak. They are
Because
mute. And-
Virus that was kickstarted in Rise has evolved to the point where it makes humans dumb.
Mhm.
It basically turns them into they kind of they're
Devolves them.
they're into like lowers, and they can just stammer and murmur and kind of just like they understand basic things, but beyond that they're basically incommunicable.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's so good, and
Yeah, and it's
And
go
Woody
ahead,
Harrelson
Arlen.
basically says he's like at this point he's like if we allow you to continue, he's like, you will beat us purely by attrition. He's like, nothing's coming after you, it's all coming after us.
Mhm.
It's really nutty.
You were gonna say, Arlen?
No, I was just I lost my train of thought. So go
Okay.
ahead.
I was just gonna
This is,
say that
this is Eric's pick, yeah.
it's fine. It's fine. No, I mean, that's the thing. Like, I came in with these knowing that these would probably start conversations. But for me, like, this entire trilogy was one of the few trilogies I've seen probably in the last decade that pays off more with each film.
Oh my god, yes.
Like,
Yeah.
it's not a matter of the second film, like, being better than the first or third, or like the third one having elements that were better, but it continues to pay off the story.
It's hard to decide which of the three is better than which one, because they all kind of operate in the same level of quality.
And they're also different.
But thematically, it's yours to pick from, because like Rise is about kind of escape, and free from I wouldn't say oppression, but like it's the boiling water basically. And then Dawn is the uneasy alliance, because Dawn has humans that are perfectly fine with working with apes. So like, yeah, they're here, we're here, let's fucking do this together. And then War is the tipping of the scales.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh fuck! I had a thought and I lost it.
War is more the farewell letter to humanity.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like it's just telling you like this is what's going to happen and there's nothing you can do to stop it.
That's it. Caesar's growth, physically and verbally, across
Yeah.
3 movies is very. There's a through line from him being a very young ape who is signing to a fully an ape who's speaking in full sentences by the 3rd movie.
I mean,
Because the second one, he's making full sentences, but they're missing words. He's like, ape do not want war. In the 3rd movie, it's like, I don't know where we'll go from here because everything's bad and everything sucks and humanity's. I'm like he's having full conversations with humans.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the origin of the first great ape leader. And it's
And like the little
fascinating.
callbacks, like when they go to James Franco's house
yeah.
in the 2nd movie, and like someone picks up a picture of him and Caesar, and like, who is this? He's like, he's a great man, but he's gone.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, that sucks.
Yeah.
Like
It's
there's a level of sadness that goes through these movies that is captivating, but it never, it's like Logan, which is on my list. It's aggressively unfun, but you can't keep your eyes off of it.
Well,
Yeah.
it's the 3rd movie is Caesar finally losing hope in humanity.
Yeah.
Is really what it's all about. Is that he's finally realizing like ape must be the superior
Because
species here.
the humans who are left are fucking terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, they're the meanest of the group.
Yeah, the ones who are left are just the ones who should have died off first. Like they are
Yeah.
detestable.
Yeah.
They're just not
Yep.
like it. It's not a. It's a very bleak movie. Like the
Oh,
the
no,
second
it is.
one's not very bleak, but like
Yeah, like this is the first one where there's no human who's the good guy.
No,
There's
yeah.
just kind of
Oh,
a
no.
spoiler, but
Well, Nova is the only good one.
yeah, but Nova's
Oh, yeah.
part of the. She's one of the diseased
Yeah, she's-
ones, sort of.
Yeah, she's basically a human surrogate at this point. Like
Right.
she's in the ape community, and she always will be, because she'll be taken in by them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's
So-
no like James Franco or Australian
the-
guy who I can't remember the name of.
There is
Yeah, I know who you're talking
there's
about.
no voice of reason in this movie. They're all
Yeah.
gone.
Yeah,
And that's the worst part about it, is that there's no one left on the other side for Caesar to lean on and go, you're rational, you can possibly keep relations between our species together. Now those people are all gone, and it's survive or don't.
I will say I still like Dawn better, but it's only for one reason, and it's this. Koba is the greatest villain who's ever existed.
Toby Kebbell is a very underrated performer, and I didn't know he was both King Kong and a human character in the Kong movie.
Yep.
He came back as Koba for a minute in the third one because he's in a dream sequence that is fucking horrifying.
Yeah.
Mild spoiler, like an ape dies in a kind of a confrontation, and Caesar's sitting at a campfire, and through the flames, Koba's face just kind of starts moving towards him, and he goes, "Ape, do not kill ape," and screams in Caesar's face, and he wakes up.
Yeah, it's so good. But But Koba's just a better villain, and part of what made Dawn so good is I saw Koba's side. Like, I was on his side.
Koba wasn't wrong.
Yeah.
Like,
Koba's ideology isn't wrong. His methods are monstrous.
Yeah, I mean, spoiler for Dawn, but until he killed Rocket, I was on his side. He had to kill the child of a lead character.
Yeah, he kills Rocket's son horribly. What is he?
He throws him over a.
He forgives him, and basically he does the whole the head tap, like he acknowledges him and then throws him off a building.
Yeah, or like off it's like a stone stairs, like an old a subway stairs, and throws him off the cement.
The sequence where Koba walks up those two guys and starts acting all funny like a monkey, and then uses a machine gun on them. I'm like, that's scary as shit.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Koba's a sick guy, and I was on his side, which is what makes a great villain. And I was never on Woody Harrelson's side in this movie ever.
Well, he was too over the top to
he was doing
believable as
he's doing Brando the entire time.
I will not spoil his fate, but what happens to him is so well deserved.
Yeah,
it's not even funny. It's almost comical, but you're too busy going like, "Oh, you piece of shit! I'm so glad this happened to you."
Yeah.
That trilogy is amazing from start to finish, and I actually fear for its future now with the Disney buyout. So I don't know what's gonna happen to that.
Yeah.
Oh, where else could they go?
I mean, I'd be happy with them not going anywhere for a while. Like, because this was the war closes on such a good. It closes the loop essentially.
Yeah.
Because it brings you back to like, oh, this is where the ape society actually began.
There are places I would like them to explore in later movies, but I think they can take a break. Like, I've always wanted to know, well, what happened in Africa, where there's the largest concentration of these apes in the world. What happened when this virus hit there? And what does that society look like? And like,
the one bullet I'm glad we dodged is the obligatory reference to the Statue of Liberty. One, because logistically it would make no sense because that's in the East Coast.
Right.
And I'm glad
I'm
glad that nuclear war was not what took us out, because that's very cliche at this point. Like, what killed us was a quiet, natural, like, man-made bug.
Well,
man's arrogance.
That we're like, oh yeah, we can break Mother Nature, no fucking problem. Oops.
The great thing about the old movies is they make it very clear that they don't know when the nuclear war actually happened. So it might have been that the humans were already dead, and then the surviving humans used nukes.
It's kind of like Mad Max. Like, you don't really know what happened in Mad Max that caused the apocalypse.
Right.
The explanation they give you in 1 is like financial collapse.
Well,
like
that's it. In Mad Max 1, they say society is crumbling, but I think George Miller has basically said off camera, more or less. He's like, basically, it's everything you're worried about in the news all happening in the same week.
Yeah.
So it's like the economy collapses, like the stock crashes, some kind of natural disaster or a combination of such, nuclear war, and maybe a solar flare all in the same week.
Yeah, like it's the way I've always thought of it is it's like New York in the late 70s, but all over the world.
Oh no!
Just everywhere.
I think actually, and most people are like, wouldn't nuclear war cause a nuclear winter for Fury Road? And I think a lot of people have pieced together the idea that like it was a solar flare that hit us that scorched the planet and dried the oceans up.
Right. It wasn't just nuclear war that caused
Yeah.
They kind
No,
of touch on it. They touch on it in the game a little bit.
Yeah.
They're like
Yes, they
everything
do.
disappears in the ocean.
Yes.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And like it's like the setting of Fury Road is too desolate for something like nukes to just do that. Like something came along and fucking annihilated us.
Yeah.
And it couldn't have just been us. Like we certainly contributed, but I think like in the end it was Mother Nature or God, whatever the fuck you want to call it, who was like, "You're done."
Yeah.
So yeah. But that's not the Planet of the Apes. But yeah.
So can we talk about something happier now?
Yes. Yes.
So I think it's my number 3.
My favorite movie of 2017, hands down.
Yeah. So I guess I think it's mine. So based off of your guys' list, I don't know if this will come up again. Because it seems like I don't know. You might have forgot about it. So it might not even be on your list. But
I don't know. This year was packed. That's all I'm gonna say.
So this came out the beginning of the year. It's really the first thing that I remember us loving from this year. It aired on FX.
Legion.
It's Legion, guys.
Easily
Believe
my
me,
favorite TV show this year.
It was almost this. Here's the thing: 2017 was like the anti-2016, where it's a bad shit happened in 2016, and then 2017 came back and was like, "Here's a fuckload of entertainment. It's all gonna rock."
Yeah.
I didn't like. I had to when we were talking about like let's come up with one bad thing we just hated. I was like, I can't even put Iron Fist because like Iron Fist is bad, but like who gives a shit?
Right.
Yeah.
We got Legion.
I had so much more that I loved than I hated, which is why I'm not a fan of people on Facebook who are like, God, you hate everything. I'm like, no, I fucking don't actually.
Yeah.
Like, I am actually very positive about lots of stuff. It's that you guys only pay attention when I say something sucks.
Right. Everybody only gets freaked out when I say Fifth Element is terrible. Come at me, bros. Come at me.
Or when people say Die Hard 2 is a bad movie, which they're factually wrong.
Right.
What to quote Spider-Man, what in the goddamn fuck?
But,
No, I definitely struggled not to put Legion on my list. Like it was an amazing show. Like I feel like it was lightning in a bottle.
Legion is
It's
so
my favorite show of 2017, honestly.
Legion is what I've been enjoying out of like, I guess like the Fox side of things for comic book movies and media, because like you guys took a superhero concept and graciously and brazenly stepped outside of the box that we've all gotten very comfortable in and did something different and said, here you go. And
like, Legion is one of my favorite X-Men, and they did them right. Like they did something. I'm the only person in the world who cares about Legion. Now I feel like now I'm not.
And my roommates who are they have like their very casual approach to like comic book stuff, but they're big old nerds. Like if I could show everyone like the wall of pop vinyls they've had out in the living room is insane at this point. They had to buy shelves. And like Dean's a fucking video gamer and Ashley loves books. Actually, I got Ashley Old Man Logan for Christmas. And she freaked. She's fucking happy. She's reading it right now. Because they saw Logan and she was like, I want to read that book. I was like, oh yes.
If she saw Logan, it's like I want to read that. She's gonna really love Old Man.
I know, and I told her I was like, get ready because it gets fucking weird.
No, there's more. There's more. That's the best part about reading it after seeing Logan.
But Legion was like Logan and like Deadpool. Was something completely different, and even my roommates up because even they liked it, and it's something that's not really in their comfort zone.
Yeah, it's a very weird show. Also,
she's like it's fucking weird. She's like, but it's interesting.
Yeah,
it's like Twin Peaks.
Yeah,
but I feel like it's a little bit more aware of its crazy. You know what I mean? Like,
no, Twin Peaks is so self-aware of its crazy at this point, especially by season 3.
It's aware of its own insanity. You know what I mean? Where it's like,
okay, Twin Peaks is ironically like off kilter, and it's kind of done as a form of comedy. Legion is funny, but Legion is embracing its wackiness and its pure lack of sanity and running for the hills with it, because the entire premise is psychotic break.
Right.
So it has to do with a mental struggle, so it works.
Yeah, and it's like there's an episode where Dan Stevens talks to another Dan Stevens, and
it's
one
amazing.
of them is just Dan Stevens naturally, and one of them is hidden with his American accent, and it's brilliant.
the chalkboard sequence where he explains it's one of the most clever bullet dodging of having to accept a different continuity, of having to acknowledge that Professor X is your dad, there's no getting around that, and they explain that without having to actually come out and say it.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's drawn very explicitly, right? Like, it's a fucking bald guy in a suit. Like,
yes, there's a bald man, and I think there's a wheelchair. Yeah.
Yeah, there is. Yeah.
And there's a flashback also. So, yeah.
Arlen, I figured you might have a opinion on this, but did you get a heavy Wes Anderson vibe from some of the episodes?
There's a very big Wes Anderson influence. Like, there's so many. This is the thing. What I love about Legion. And this is something that Noah Hawley's been doing with Fargo also, is he is willing to change formats in the middle of a show. There's stuff where it's he's going for film, and it's this super wide screen, and the frame is very thin, and it's mostly black on your screen. And then he'll cut to a screen that's just filled with colors, and it's bright, and it's fun, and there's people dancing. And
Wes Anderson was the first thing I got 2 episodes in, because one of my favorite Wes Anderson movie, probably my favorite Wes Anderson movie, is Grand Budapest Hotel.
Yes.
And that movie is I've described it as if you're looking constantly into a box with 3 walls, and everything's kind of like a diorama, and everything's framed that way. It's very either symmetrical or it's like you're staring into a playset.
That was Daddy Issues, the movie.
But it's about so much more than that, though. It's a movie about war.
It's a movie about a fiction. World War I happens a bunch across fictional countries, and some people escape it.
Yep. Yeah, and it's got so many heavy themes. While you have some of the best jokes I've ever heard. Did you just throw my cat out of the window?
Some of the driest humor I've ever seen that has made me laugh as hard as I ever have. I think anytime fucking Ralph Fiennes was just delivering lines about how cool he is, but not really emoting.
Yeah.
Or when Willem Dafoe is stomping on his hands when he's dangling off an ice cliff, and he's like, I'm gonna die now, so I better start reciting poetry, and starts to just gracefully recite this poem about death, and then Willem Dafoe gets knocked off the cliff, and he just cuts into, "Holy shit, you got him!"
I apologize. I was thinking of Darjeeling Limited, not Grand Budapest Hotel.
Yeah, not that one.
I've never seen Darjeeling.
No. Darjeeling Limited is Daddy Issues, the movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, Wes Anderson is very good compliment for Legion, because it does feel like that. It does feel like it is quirky, it is weird, and it's very colorful and upbeat whilst being so dark.
I mean, there are so many influences in the movie, though. There's a little bit of a Cronenbergian type of thing, almost.
There definitely is.
Yes.
And there's moments that remind me of The Fury, also, which is the older movie.
The King of Shadows.
Yes.
This is just totally terrifying.
You mean the Shadow King? They can't do the Shadow King. So they call him the King of Shadows.
God damn it. But
actually,
Aubrey Plaza,
they did directly call him Shadow King.
They did call him Shadow King at some point. They mostly
at some
call
point,
him
yes.
King.
It's funny how they're just he's the King of Shadows. We know who you're talking about.
Right. And I love how badass they make him. He's like, "Ooh, something's going on over here. I need to check in over there." And he just pops in on those 2 characters in that hallway, and I don't remember exactly what they're doing. And he just stops time in Aubrey Plaza form, and is like, "Oh, no, not you two. You two are misbehaving. I have to punish you." And what does she do? Doesn't she slice one of their throats open or something?
Yeah, I can't remember.
It goes some very dark places, and characters die in very aggressive and gruesome ways. And there's a sequence that's all timed to this music, and by the end of it, the music is just it's just completely changed into this other thing. It's I don't know. It's so great.
Isn't that there's an entire silent movie scene from the end of it, isn't there?
Yes.
Yeah, everything's done as a silent film.
Yes, it's so good. But yeah, and there's a point where that's right. The Shadow King turns off everybody's ability to speak, because that's how powerful the Shadow King is.
Yeah, what the fuck?
Like, God, yeah, it's a great show. I mean, you all heard our reviews of it. We loved it.
It's fantastic.
I mean, we loved it enough that we had to review it. That on a show where we review CW every week. That's how much we liked it. So, yeah.
All right.
Moving on to number 2s.
Yeah.
Yes. I'll open with mine, and it's an easy one. It's Logan.
That was my number 2 as well.
Logan's a little higher up on mine. Hunter, is it on yours?
Well, it could only be one other number.
It's not on mine, but it's fantastic. It's a great movie.
Logan showed everything they could do if you treat comic adaptations, not even adaptations, just comic properties with adult intentions.
Yeah.
Yes.
But,
and if you're not afraid to hurt your viewers' feelings.
But you also respect that character and the legacy that character has built up. Because the biggest critique that you can make of The Dark Knight 10 years out is that movie is afraid of using the character of Batman. That's the biggest.
Yes, it is.
And that it's not even a Batman movie. And that's something you can say about Dark Knight Rises as well. That's the biggest problem with all three of those movies. Even
They're not
the
Batman movies.
Yeah. Even the movie titled Batman Begins, it's afraid of the fact that the character is named Batman. So much that they had to change the title in the sequels. So that's a problem for me, personally. This movie is not afraid of the fact that Wolverine, in this universe, probably did wear some version of yellow spandex. And also, this movie doesn't care about continuity. There are things from the previous movies that if you know them, great, and that means it happened. I personally think the Wolverine is fantastic. So
I think it's fine.
That movie's good.
Right.
Like, I watched it recently.
And actually,
it's
the director's cut is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
The director's cut has some really cool shit in it. The director's cut has I think it's not the sequence where he fights the ninjas in the snow. It's entirely different. It's a different scene altogether.
Yeah.
Like, he filmed 2 fucking fight sequences.
And if you
And,
rewatch it, there's a weird bit of symmetry with that movie if you rewatch it now. Like immediately after watching Logan.
The scene where he's in the hotel room with like the Japanese dude and he tosses him out the window is like one of my favorite Wolverine scenes ever.
I love that because she's like, how'd you know there's a pool there? He's like, I didn't.
Yeah, that scene that they stole from James Bond.
Yeah. But like, for some reason, I really like the idea of making a James Bond movie and just making it Wolverine.
That's what that movie is. But what was it? I think I was going to say,
his character.
I love that he has the sword. He has the sword that he was given in the Wolverine.
And that's my favorite things about Logan and the continuity it has, because its continuity is whatever you wish, whatever you want to have happened and have not happened is entirely up to you, and it's fine.
Yeah.
You can ignore X-Men Origins, or you can acknowledge the fact that that adamantium bullet came from that movie.
Right.
Fuck.
Or it could be like, I made this a long time ago because one day I might have to use it. Like, it goes both ways.
Yeah.
You can acknowledge the fact that, I mean, certain things did canonically happen. Like, Wolverine killed
the sword, the samurai sword, he did go to Japan.
Yes. We went to Japan, and some version of what happened in that movie happened.
Yeah.
But it doesn't necessarily mean that he fought a robot at the end.
I do love
question
how they're
for you
like,
guys. Oh, go ahead.
When she's looking at the comic book and he's like, oh, that's horse shit. Like,
yeah.
Also, since we just talked about Legion, the base from Legion is in that comic book, which is something that I love. And we didn't bring it up during the review, but that was great.
Yeah.
It's the same base, and it's
so great.
So yeah, I love that.
Or
the question I had was, I don't know if any of you had seen something that had been floating around shortly after Logan came out, but in the Wolverine, there's a point where what is the Japanese woman? She's the one who can read the future, or she can see people's futures.
She predicts his death word for word.
Yeah.
And
like you will die in the forest with your heart in your hand.
With your heart in your hand, and it cuts
it's his daughter's hand.
And it's
yeah.
She said you'll die with your heart in your hand. There's blood everywhere. Like he dies violently. With the only thing he has left in the world holding his hand.
And I want to think that was intentional. I want to.
The final shot when she turns a crossover into an X,
Yeah.
literally almost made me cry.
I work at a I work in an animal hospital, and a lot of the people I know in a different animal hospital are older than me, and they're also they're women. They're old women, and comic book movies aren't their thing. And the other day, like we were just talking about, I can't remember what we were talking about, but one of them goes, I saw Logan the other day, and I paused and waited, and she goes, it was really good. I'm like, that's the fucking strength of that movie.
Yeah, I mean,
no, my wife watched it with me. She really enjoyed it as well.
yeah.
Fantastic. It's a movie that I think I've never
And
that's
she
in my
was like-
top 5 movies of all time.
She was like, it's so sad. She's like, but it was really good. I'm like, and I said the phrase I've always used is it's aggressively unfun, but it's never not entertaining or captivating. It's being a sad movie is fine. You can have a sad movie as long as there's something to take away from it that makes you feel okay about it. Like one of our biggest problems with BBS is that it's dark for the sake of being dark, and it doesn't really go anywhere.
It doesn't have a message at all.
Well, it does have a message, and that message is really bad.
The message is dumb.
The message sucks.
The message is
Sometimes horses need to die, Clark.
the message is sometimes you need to sacrifice to survive. You need to sacrifice to save the day. Superman would never do that because Superman doesn't believe in that. Superman believes that you will always win if you try. There's always another way.
He doesn't have to sacrifice.
No.
Yeah.
If
But Logan's message is like, dude, like everything dies. Like it's nothing is gonna stay great forever. And death is inevitable, even for someone who's seemingly immortal. But like in Laura, there's the future. Like it's very similar to The Last Jedi, which was committed to tearing down the past. And Logan does it in a way that's so cynical and mean that it's hard not to really get into, because like, what does that dude say at the end? He's like, oh yeah, we just kind of bred your kind out of existence by fucking putting some kind of mutant, gene suppressor in high fructose corn syrup, which is, by the way, in every conceivable food stuff known to man.
Right.
Yep.
And we knocked your species out of existence quietly, calmly, and we won. There it is.
Yeah.
They did it bureaucratically. They're like,
yes, yeah.
Yes.
They
beat
fucking-
mutants with red tape.
It's so good.
fucking
this
weaponized sugar. Like,
this movie is the end of the mutants, and also the last third, an effective recreation of Thunderdome. So that is an achievement also.
yeah, it is.
It is very Logan's very Mad Maxy with his fucking white tank top.
Yeah.
But it's also like, it's a Western movie. It's a comic book movie. It takes a character like Professor X, who is always held to a high standard, and reduces him to a doddering, babbling, dementia-ridden old man who can't control his powers, who needs to be carried around and babysat all the time because he's basically a weapon of mass destruction.
Well, that was something else though. Like I don't think it was ever really implied in the movie, but kind of reading between the lines, I got the impression that Professor X is the reason that the X-Men were dead.
He is absolutely the reason the X-Men are dead.
They spell it out. He killed them.
Okay. It's been a while, so.
They also, James Mangold said there was something else that was supposed to be in the script that explicitly stated that what happened in the Las Vegas hotel room where he loses control and everyone starts to paralyze and not be able to breathe, is that he had an episode at the X Mansion and asphyxiated everybody in the building.
Yeah. And there was a scene with Sabretooth. And this is something that we said in the review. Sabretooth should have been in this movie somewhere, but I understand they couldn't fit him in. So
I believe X-24 was supposed to be Sabretooth.
Yeah. And that's something that
X-24 is, but he works. I think he works.
He works, but
It's like
He works because Logan has to confront the part of him that he never became.
right. But
the part
you
of
can,
him that
you
he doesn't
can,
like.
You can become something better and bigger.
you can do that same thing though with Sabretooth, because in this continuity they've done nothing to suggest that they aren't still brothers.
Yes, and Sabretooth could have been a more extreme version of Superman from Dark Knight Returns, where he is everything that Batman isn't, where Superman becomes like a government stooge. And Sabretooth could have been the stooge or enforcer for this new whatever this fucking conglomerate is experimenting on mutants, and he could be so he's comfortable with it because it's a paycheck, and that should disgust other mutants.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and that's kind of what he's been like in the comics at times, is that he's just for hire, and it doesn't matter what it is as long as he's getting paid.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And that's something that I understand why they couldn't do it. The movie is very slim and it's very tight, and adding another character would be hard. But it's
and it's on a small scale. The third act doesn't involve some device that's going to blow up a city or create a black hole or any of those tropes that, like, I hate to say Red Letter Media invented, but like there's nothing shooting a beam into the sky.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just 15
Which
kids.
was like just funny. It's like that's a joke, and then like a year later, you're like, oh, that's happened in everything.
Yeah.
No, I mean the conclusion of that movie is just a vicious, bloody, terrible fight in the woods.
Yeah.
And it's a very personal fight at that.
And arguably the most popular mutant in X-Men of all time, like, dies in the woods with a daughter he didn't know he had, and is buried in a nameless grave in the middle of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
As is Professor X. Yes, by a bunch of kids who are the only people who will probably remember him.
Yeah.
And so is Professor X. Professor X is buried by like some fucking fishing hole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God, that's depressing. But it works. It clicks.
Yeah.
Everything works.
It does.
It's a great ending to these characters, these actors, who have said that they don't want to come back, which I 100% support.
I do love. I just like. There's something that's kind of. It's not funny, but I find it very entertaining. Like that. Logan, by the end of it, is so fucking beat down and tired and exhausted and hurt that he resorts to using a gun. It's kind of awesome.
I love that too. He just shoots Richard Grant in the head. Spoilers.
Something about him pulling a gun on someone, you're like, oh fuck.
Richard Grant, my pick for the Reverse Flash. It's gonna happen.
You're made of claws. Why do you have a gun?
He was supposed to be Mr. Sinister at one point.
Everybody thought he was Mr. Sinister.
He was supposed to be Mr. Sinister in this movie. I guess they're moving him on to either Deadpool 2 or Dark Phoenix.
Yeah.
Oh fuck! I want him to be in Deadpool 2.
I think he is in Deadpool 2. I don't think.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean,
I love Mr. Sinister so much.
Yeah.
So much that Age of Apocalypse fucking stinger.
God.
I mean, the more we forget from that movie, the better. So
I forget that movie even exists.
We're gonna really forget that movie when fucking Dark Phoenix comes out, and we're all disappointed all over again.
Yeah.
Boy, I have to say, for as good as Logan is, and as good as like Days of Futures Past and First Class was, and like X-Men 2 is fantastic, but like, man, they shit the bed real hard in a new fucking series for those movies.
Yep.
You have a fucking astounding cast, and you manage to tie the timelines up, and then you do Age of Apocalypse and just fucking defecate all over the quality steps you made forward.
No, that was Bryan
really
Singer.
paving the way for Marvel to come in and
fucking
swing their big dicks around.
Fix that universe.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's all I've got to say about Logan.
Yeah.
So whose was that?
That was my number 2.
Okay.
We've already covered my number 1, so my list is done.
yeah, we
Except
did.
for
We kind of
except
did
for my-
mine. So I guess
for my worst pick.
I don't think I did my number 2.
yes, we do Hunter's number 2 now. I guess.
Yeah.
Mine is Last Jedi.
Okay, that's my number
know.
1.
I don't disagree. Okay, then. I don't disagree with that at all, and I love that movie to death.
Yeah, I love
Yeah.
that movie too. It's
So, this is okay.
I
just
suggest
gonna-
we go light in the spoilers because it's still very fresh.
Mm-hmm.
I do want to I have this one nitpick with fans. I have to.
Yes, please, because I've got
that I
dozens.
have to get it off my chest. I'm so sick and goddamn tired of people complaining about Luke Skywalker in this movie.
yeah, they can all shut up.
Let me
Every
say
one of
this
them.
because that's not really a spoiler. Everyone kind of knows his position. He says it himself in this movie. The Jedi are an order that is defined by failure. Nothing they do has worked in a long time. So the fact that he would actually repeat the same mistake because he was taught by the same people who made the same mistake makes fucking sense. Of course he would be disillusioned with the idea of being a Jedi. Being a Jedi sucks.
But at the end, Luke is still wrong, which I also love.
Why would any human being, alien or otherwise, why would they ever, after going through what the Skywalkers went through, why would any of them want to be a Jedi?
That's true.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Why?
But
Their
yeah.
bloodline, everyone's like, oh, the Skywalker bloodline is sacred. It's fucking tainted.
It's
Well,
cursed.
I mean,
Anakin Skywalker ruined everything for everyone. Okay,
you could
the Jedi...
argue that there's a reason that they weren't supposed to procreate. There's a reason they're supposed to be celibate.
Yeah.
Because of things like this.
But here's the thing, like, the Jedi put all this stake into the idea of a chosen one. Someone's gonna come along and bring balance to the Force, and our idea of balance is to completely annihilate the other side. That's not balance. That's dominance. That's
Right.
not.
Yeah.
That's not how that works.
Like,
balance is two
that's
opposing
just
sides holding the
creating
same
a
amount of weight.
vacuum.
The Force,
Yes.
the Force is balanced.
Yes.
Here's the thing. They just built religions around it.
Yes.
That's all
Ray,
that happened.
Ray comes out and says that. She in her, first of all, that scene is hysterical when she's like, reach out, and she's like, and he fucking tickles her with a fucking branch. Like,
Yeah, it's great.
Mark Hamill's goofy ass face with his tongue, he's like,
Can you feel it? What's it feel like? What's it feel like?
But she sees both sides, and there's no denotion of good or evil.
There's nothing.
It's just
No.
it's nature.
There's nothing. They just
Yeah.
built religions around it, and they're fighting. That's it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a fucking millennia-long squabble over who's right.
And you
Yeah.
could argue like the extended universe stuff, like the Sith, the rule of two, and stuff like that. That's just
But
Greed,
it's also,
and, like-
with this movie, it's like, dude, like, we need to really get over the stuff that happened before by not repeating the same mistakes and by acknowledging that, like, a lot of what we did was either destructive or wrong.
Yeah.
It's
And,
like,
like,
all
like,
about
my-
not
my-
letting your future be influenced by your past.
Yes, and my point about Anakin is, like, the Jedi put all this fucking stake into a chosen one. He's going to balance the Force, And then, under their own fucking supervision, they let a super powerful Sith Lord take control of, like, the galactic government and annihilate the Jedi with one of their own prominent students who is supposed to, be the hero. Like, how fucking stupid are you?
Like,
The Jedi are an order who are defined by hubris.
Yep.
They are so proud and fucking noble and arrogant that they are the instrument of their own doom.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's like
Well,
it's
it
just
was
so
my
hard
original
for
plan
people to
do it this way.
it's so hard for people to accept that like their characters can be flawed. Like Luke understands like how fucked up it all is. Like that everything they did, everything was for nothing.
And like a lot of people will they bring up I'm not going to say exactly what it is, but like the Ben Solo thing.
Right.
Mhm.
You say this: if you've been taught nothing but one side of the story as a Jedi, and suddenly something comes along that instills that much fear in you, your first instinct is to strike it down.
Yeah.
That's right.
First instinct would be, this has to be purged.
Yeah.
And then common sense took over, and he's like, oh my god, I can't do this.
That's my nephew. Like
And yes. And
Like-
that's what broke him, is the fact that I think it's the fact that like it shattered his mind and like his perception of everything, because like everything he knew as a young adult and probably as a middle-aged man is flawed, and it's full of holes, and it caused him nothing but pain and suffering. So of course he'd be like, no, fuck this. Like, I'm just gonna go. Like,
Mhm.
like I failed my sister, I failed my friend, I failed my family. Like, there's nothing left for me to do except go hide. And
Yeah,
I'm
like-
sorry, but what did Yoda and Obi-Wan do after the Jedi collapsed? They ran away and
They
hid
fucked off.
on desolate garbage planets and fucked off for 20 years.
Yep.
Don't even tell me that's not what Jedi do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Hunter, this was yours, so you can go ahead. You take the lead.
like I don't know. I really liked it. I'm not saying it's a perfect movie because I think there's some pacing issues with it, and like
Yeah. Canto Bite is a slog.
yeah, it is.
It's a
It's a bit of a.
Uh,
It's not
see,
as
that's-
bad as people made it out to be, but it is pretty. It's rough to get through.
no, but
See,
so
that's
I
Go
Also,
ahead.
anyone who is saying Rose is worse than Jar Jar, I'm gonna punch you in your mouth.
oh,
when
those
I see
people
you.
can shut up. Those are racists. I'm sorry. I don't care if you have legitimate
She is
complaints about Rose.
Awesome.
You have a
I
problem.
really like her. She's
No,
great.
and like here's the thing: those kinds of people got so vocal that I think
Mhm.
like the Star Wars social media account on Facebook spoke out and said like, all of you need to pipe the fuck down and stop we stand by our casting choice and this character, full stop, go away.
Can
Yeah.
And also, can
as
we?
they should.
Rose's story. And the stuff with her sister, it's some of the best stuff Star Wars has ever done.
It shows you.
Period.
It shows you what Star Wars always seems to hide from, and that it's like the fucking side effects of war. These are war movies, people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's war. Yeah.
Like, it did what I liked about Rogue One so much. Is it like it grounded things in a reality that even though it's completely fake, it felt real. It felt
Also,
believable.
I do want to say, what the fuck is Benicio del Toro doing? What even is that? What is that?
So I said it in the chat.
It's probably the most Benicio del Toro he's ever been.
Yes.
No, it's in the 80s.
Space verbal count.
I said it. He went full license to kill. Benicio. That's what we got there.
He has his like tick is so like inconsistent.
Yeah.
Like I don't understand what he's doing.
It's so inconsistent that it's believable. I'm like, yeah, he looks like a fucking space tweaker who just basically makes his living by swindling anybody he can find, and then takes his winnings and goes get fucked up on them.
Great.
We finally met after 40 years of Star Wars, a Star Wars junkie. Like,
Yeah.
someone who's clearly not put together and lives a shitty lifestyle.
Yeah. But I do love is like he wasn't revealed to be the secret master coder also. Like that's still Justin Theroux's character.
Okay. Was that guy's a cameo, right?
Yes.
That dude?
The star of The Leftovers was a throwaway cameo, and I love it.
He looked familiar, and I was like, this is like framed in such a way that I should know
the cameos in this movie, and especially the ones that are cut, are insane. The royals, both princes were in this movie, Henry and what's his face.
Yeah.
Tom Hardy is in this movie somewhere.
I've seen something
alien
on the Blu-ray. He's going to show up.
There is an alien that is specifically designed to look like Carrie Fisher's dog, and he's in the casino.
Awesome.
That's amazing.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt is the guy who's like, I told them not to park on the beach. They shouldn't park on the beach or whatever.
Yeah, I kind of knew that was him because it sounded like him.
Yes.
Quick side note.
Which I think it's a really cool thing that all these like even with Force Awakens, Daniel Craig being a stormtrooper is the coolest thing, and I'm like, is Daniel Craig a big old nerd?
Y'all know I love that. Y'all know that was my favorite part.
That would make me so fucking happy to learn that Daniel Craig is a massive Star Wars geek.
Two things real quick. One with the Daniel Craig. Apparently they were doing some sort of sound work for Force Awakens when I believe Skyfall was it? Or was it Skyfall. Oh, Spectre, thank you, was being done.
Oh man,
they happened to talk
at least he was in the better
him.
movie.
I mean, I'll say this: my favorite 2 minutes of Daniel Craig in that year were not from the film called Spectre. So
the other thing was Mark Hamill actually had a second role in Last Jedi.
Yes,
he was the voice of the little thing that was trying to use BB-8 as
little
a
gremlin
slot
man.
machine.
What? That's amazing. I love it.
Yeah. But my biggest thing with the movie was it delivered more than I could ever expect it to, based on trepidation going in.
No,
because
it took everything that was safe about the first film and just like was like, nope, fuck all this, nope.
And it's been said to death, but like after Force Awakens came out, the biggest criticism was this is too safe. It feels too much like New Hope. And then like, finally, let's be real. How many true Star Wars sequels exist that don't rely on stuff that happened immediately previously?
Nothing. None of them.
Felt like the actual first
the
time
prequels
to
kind of do that.
Yeah, but like this is the first time the series actually felt like it took a step way into the future to ensure the safety of the story and the franchise by closing chapters and closing whole books on stuff that's been just like open and kind of, left unsaid for 20, 30 years.
It's just so good. And
Yeah.
I just really love it.
It's committed to tearing down tropes. Like, I'm really trying to avoid spoilers, but like, hey, let's take the idea of this fucking ambiguous, cloaked, fucking deformed baddie, and let's fucking get rid of him. Hey, goodbye.
Yeah.
Because here's some backlash to criticism about that. how much did you all know about Palpatine before Return of the Jedi? Not a fucking thing.
No.
Because guess what? That was
Also-
the first movie he was in before fucking the prequels happened.
And if you're
So-
lucky enough to see the unedited version, unlike me and Hunter, who
Oh yeah.
I'm pretty sure we
His
both
weird
grew up
frog
with,
eyes.
yeah.
with the
Yeah.
the edited, the chopped and screwed
we,
parts.
we didn't get the chimpanzee eyes edited over
Yeah.
somebody's
no,
face.
that's I grew up with that. That was
So-
yeah.
I feel like Snoke is more of a symbol than he is a character.
Yes.
Oh, he's a red
he's-
herring.
Yeah.
He's from a pup named Scooby Doo.
Well, let's be careful, guys.
I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying.
No,
I'm
he's-
just saying. In the long run, he doesn't matter. Like
yeah.
he doesn't.
Like
Yeah.
Ryan Johnson before the movie came out, he said, we didn't learn anything about Sheev Palpatine until the prequels. We
Exactly.
learned nothing.
His first movie has him sit in a chair, spout evil lines, and then get dumped down a reactor core.
Right.
That's his
Yep.
first actual on-screen role.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And even in the prequels, you don't learn much. All of the stuff.
No,
that
you don't learn a
really-
fucking thing. All you learn is that he's evil and he fucking loves it.
Yeah.
You learn the
Yeah.
most about him in Darth Plagueis.
Yeah,
That's it.
You learn a lot
Yeah.
about him, like when he was a little bit young in some of the Legends material. You get the sense that he was kind of like a mobster, in a way.
Kinda. Yeah. He was just some dude who just really wanted power. Essentially,
Yeah.
like.
So yeah.
The one last thing I wanted to bring up about Last Jedi was talking about what is it? Canto Blight is the name of the
Canto
place?
Bight. Yeah.
Yeah.
Canto Blight. That felt, and I didn't mind any of that part. I really didn't. I loved the movie the whole way through, but I really felt like that was the most Lucasy part of the entire movie.
Yeah, it is.
It
It
is.
is
Yeah.
Super heavy CGI, like just it wants to show all these fantastic creatures, and it's very heartwarming.
But I do like the creature designs in this movie.
Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
some of the things you see in the background, you're like, ooh, what is that? Like,
Yeah.
Mhm.
I thought the
Mhm.
foghorns, they took a little bit longer. They took up more of the movie than I thought they should. But the
Yeah.
shot of them riding on that beach with the moonlight behind them, that's a
Yeah.
beautiful shot. That's a
Yeah.
gorgeous shot.
Yeah.
I think we can move on from this though before we.
also, one more
yes.
thing.
Yeah.
Porgs are better minions.
Oh yeah,
Fuck off.
Yes.
porgs are.
Yeah.
Yes.
If
Porgs
you
are
don't love
totally
porgs,
fine.
you have a problem. You have a
But
real
here's the thing.
problem.
Okay, here's my last final thoughts of this movie, and here's my comment about porgs. This movie even addressed people's problems with stupid little sci-fi creatures from Star Wars. Because you know what happens to them? They get eaten.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Mhm.
great.
Chewie fucking eats one and then feels bad about it, and then and then takes them
And
aboard
takes
the
them on
Falcon.
board.
I love
Yeah.
that.
And the movie is fucking mean to them. They get shot. They get fucking blasted around the fucking.
Because they're
cockpit.
rats. They're
People
rats.
are
essentially.
swatting them out of the way. They're getting backhanded. They're getting abused. Like
I
this
love
movie. This movie does not think of porgs highly,
No.
and neither should you. They're just little fucking rodents. Like
Okay. Did you know why they're in the movie?
no.
They couldn't get rid of the puffins in the movie, so
Yep.
they just made them animals.
Oh my
Yep.
god! What?
Yeah,
Yeah, they just added big old cute eyes to these real creatures.
Oh my god! That's fantastic.
Like
Yeah.
great.
it's literally making lemonade out of lemons.
It's great.
That makes me appreciate their presence so much more. Is like, I fuck it. They're Star Wars creatures now.
They took like a nuisance and turned it into a merchandising for things.
That's so
It's
fucking smart.
Great.
All
I-
right, let's move on.
I would.
Who was-
One last thing though, I'd like to say that we should do an episode about either Force Awakens and Last Jedi, or just Last Jedi.
Yeah.
I've thought
I brought
about
up my arguments for it, so
I've thought about it. I'm sure there's a lot for everybody to say.
Yeah.
Who's left for number two?
I guess my
gonna-
number 2 is the last one that's been unspoken, right? Is that
I believe so. Yeah.
Okay, so my number 2, also again another one that came out early in the year. It's probably been forgotten about. It's the reason that I emphasized movie about a super villain earlier on. Came out.
Is it what I think it is?
Maybe it came out second week of January, I believe.
Oh god, it came out in the
is
death
it-
month.
And
So,
and
Is it what a twist?
you could say that. You could say that there's a reveal at the end of the movie that completely changes
What a
it.
twist!
And it's the one time
Oh!
where I
This
got
is-
really
this is-
fucking pissed off in the
Oh!
fucking chat because I told everybody not to fucking look up the ending, and all y'all
No.
fuckers decided to
Oh.
just look it up.
yep.
Okay.
I know exactly what you're talking
So,
about.
this is the most insane twist I've ever
Yeah.
seen in a movie.
Here's the thing. I don't regret looking up when you told me, because like when you add that kind of like here's the thing, when you dangle that kind of meat in front of me, I'm gonna bite. Like it's just gonna happen.
It's who I am as a
But
person.
if I went to the theater and like sat there and just absorbed that, my reaction, I don't even know. I wouldn't even be able to explain my reaction, because
Yes.
it would have been like it wouldn't have been glee. It would have been like, huh? Wah! Like,
Yes, that's so. This is
would've
why.
I
This
would have
is
reacted like a caveman who saw a smartphone for the first time. I'd be
Yeah.
so confused and like excited at the same time. Like,
Yes.
like what is this? This is interesting, but how? What?
this is why Split from January of this year. It feels so long ago. Is my number 2.
Well, this makes perfect sense, because this is these Split and Unbreakable are rooted in comic book love.
mhm.
Yeah.
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 And it's just it's
so
a
good.
supervillain origin story.
Yeah.
It's the first
But
one
you
we've
don't-
gotten, I believe.
And I love
And
that.
you
M.
don't
Night Shyamalan-
know that it.
No, you don't know at all. You just
And
think
my-
you're watching a horror movie.
Yeah, M. Night
Yeah.
Shyamalan's approach to superhumans is very interesting, because it's not like nobody can fucking fly and nobody has heat vision, but like it's super simple things that make people kind of interesting. Like Bruce Willis's character, he doesn't look very intimidating, and he's not very like he doesn't look like anything much. But if you hit him with a train, nothing's gonna fucking happen to him.
Yeah.
He's just a,
Breakable, he is invincible.
Mm-hmm.
Except
like-
for water.
And
it's,
Mr. Glass
it's like,
became smarter because he was picked on and because his body was broken. Like,
Yes, he has to adapt.
It's
Yeah.
it's basically like that show Misfits. I don't know if
Yeah.
you ever heard of that show, but like they all have like really innocuous powers.
right.
And, but Split, the dude from Split has a crazy power set that I think is kind of broken.
His power is rooted in mental illness.
Right.
Like,
He's a fucking boss character from
And
a
I
fighting
love
game.
that, like,
essentially.
if you pay attention, his origin is rooted in the events of the first movie.
Yeah.
His father
Kinda,
got
yeah.
on a train. That's
Yep.
where he gets his powers from. The fact that his father is dead. His father, guess which train he got on? He got on Bruce
Oh.
Willis's train. He
Oh.
was on the train that Bruce Willis crashed in and that Bruce Willis survived from.
Yep.
So everything is connected. And I remember watching the movie and thinking, that train's important for some reason. It's got to be important. There's a reason that they're pointing out the train. What does this connect to? And I had to think back. I hadn't seen Unbreakable yet, so I couldn't connect the dots, really. If I
Oh
had,
my god.
I would have, though. I totally
see,
would
and
have.
I actually hadn't. I still haven't seen all of Unbreakable. And I
It's
think
really
this
good.
movie's
It's-
existence actually makes the idea of going back and watching it now all the more interesting.
Yeah.
You
and
should.
it's- and the fact that they're making a movie called Glass is just like, yeah, and like Anya Taylor-Joy presumably has a power. We don't know what it is, but she probably will
It
develop
seems like,
one.
and that's my other thing about M. Night Shyamalan's interpretation of superhumans. It seems like these people's abilities are rooted in trauma,
Yes, that's the
which is
thing.
really like it takes some kind of event to bring it out of them, which is really cool.
Yeah, I love it.
And I love the fact like James McAvoy's character is like I said, his power is rooted in mental illness, and like his control over it is terrifying.
Yeah.
Also, his performance in this movie is not spoken of highly enough.
No, it's not.
He is operating literally on a dozen plus levels. Like when they're showing him in the computer files doing all these other personalities you don't get to see,
Mhm.
you get to see exactly how much work he had to do.
Yeah.
Because he's only one person with one haircut with one voice. Like he
Right.
can only do so much physically, but the little tools he has, he runs for miles with. Like
Yeah.
his performance as Hedwig. I can't remember the old guy's name who has OCD.
Kevin.
Kevin and
or wait, is it Barry?
no, it's not Kevin. Kevin's the real name. Kevin's his real name, isn't it?
Barry.
Yes, Kevin's his real name.
For personality, it's him. It's you know.
I don't remember who the tough one is, but yeah.
Yeah, and then the old woman. I'm like, those are three distinct performances. They're not the same in any way.
No,
He's
they're
fucking
completely-
Thomas Kavanaugh.
And he's
Thomas,
phys-
Thomas Kavanaugh.
And like,
And he's oh yeah.
and like when they're in Hedwig's room, and he's Hedwig for a second, and she has the radio, and she's trying to talk to the guy who works at the zoo, and you slowly see Hedwig transform into the old lady, and it's all in his face, and he's darkly lit, so it's hiding some little things, but it's all in like his position changes, the way he holds himself.
It comes down to the way he stands, the way he holds his hands. Like when he's the woman, his hands are usually kind of folded down towards his abdomen. It's very like a school teacher or a nun. Yeah. And then he's when he's the older guy with the OCD, like his face kind of gets a little more like I wouldn't say scrunched, but it gets more direct. And his expression is very, very straight and very cold. And then Hedwig, his eyes are always lit up, and he's always kind of in awe of everything around him, and it's just constantly kind of upbeat and it very obviously childlike. And the fact that he can go between all three of those within seconds is amazing.
Yeah, and Anya Taylor-Joy, she's just trying to keep up, and she does a good job, I think. But it's just like it's such an impressive movie. Such an impressive performance.
She's very unexpected.
Yeah,
because I didn't know that was her in The Witch.
Yeah.
And then she's in this too. I was like, if she starts to become a little scream queen, I wouldn't be upset about that.
Yeah. Yeah, she's in New Mutants later this year. It's becoming like a thing where she's in weird sort of horror movies. Sort of.
I'm
disappointed
cool
I didn't see this in the theaters. Like, because I had the twist ruined for me before I got to see it.
Like, it's the most insane twist I could possibly think of.
It's the first time where someone told me an M. Night Shyamalan twist and I wasn't angry about it.
Yeah.
It's like because it's a twist that it's a twist that kicked off an entire universe essentially.
Yeah.
It's a big bang.
It's not a twist for the sake of doing like a dramatic turn. Like someone told me about the twist of The Village before I went in, and I was like, "There's no way it is as stupid as you're making it sound," and it is.
Yeah.
I would argue it's dumber. I think it's dumber when you see it.
Like,
because I went and saw The Village, and I left. I was like, I feel cheated. And if nobody had told me the twist, I'd feel worse. Like I would have felt worse about it because I went out. I was like, I was sold a monster movie in the woods, in a closed off, old timey
society.
Yes. And what I got was a fuck you, I think I'm smart twist that, like, actually, if you kind of pay attention to, I think it's given away early on. It's also just nonsensical and stupid.
All right, with The Village, it was, to show my age, like, there were radio ads for it when that movie was coming out. And my one friend and I were talking about it because, it was still M. Night Shyamalan. He was a relatively new name on the scene, even with that movie. He had lived in Philly for quite a long time. And when he saw the trailer for it, he's like, oh, they're living in the current day because that red mark on the door is normally something they put on doors when they're going to condemn a building. And he's like, and if you listen carefully during some of the trailers, you can hear like modern technology, like a bulldozer or something in the background mixed in with the sound edit. So he knew before we even saw the movie, like that's what the twist is. And lo and behold, yeah.
That's interesting.
And some of his twists break his movies, like Signs. Signs is fucking scary as shit right up until
you realize
Swing Away.
The aliens are stupid because they invaded a planet that's 70% their weakness.
Yeah.
That is the most immersion-breaking twist I've ever seen.
That should have killed them the minute they landed on the planet. And
because the moisture in
air.
the air should have been like acid to their skin.
Yeah.
But like this twist, it's like if at the end of Baby Driver, Simon Pegg showed up. That's what it is.
Okay. You know what? I would love that so much.
It's very, and because it's a horror movie, it's actually very akin to way back in the 90s when Jason's mask is sitting in the dirt and Freddy's glove pops up and grabs it.
Right.
Like it's supposed to kick off like a new horror event. In this case, though, it won't take 20 years,
right?
Or 10 years.
Yeah.
It's still just flabbergasting to me that he was able to make a stealth sequel to the movie that people wanted to see.
I'm amazed that someone allowed him to do this.
Yeah.
Because, let's be honest, he has burned a lot of goodwill. I'm surprised he walked up to anyone and said, like, I have an idea to kickstart another film that is actually it's a prequel to it's a sequel to Unbreakable and a prequel to another movie. And I'm surprised someone who is in charge of things like, one of the movers and shakers wasn't like, Get Out.
Yeah. It's pretty amazing.
Because let's be honest, like his name has become synonymous with like
failure. It's a joke.
He's well known for like being in the offices of Disney, and telling them to fuck off because they need him more than he needs them. Like, he's well known for, like, kind of going a little megalomaniacal there. And
Well, he was being compared to Spielberg very
Yes.
early on, so
Yeah.
that kind of
that hurt him a little
I don't know
bit.
about that.
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
Well, it was a real thing. There was a Time cover, I believe, that said that he's the next Spielberg, and I can see how that might go to your head.
Man.
Yeah.
But, like, I gotta give it to him. This is an underdog story. This is somebody who lost track of what they were supposed to be doing and readjusted and came to the conclusion, well, my best movies are very minimal. There's not a lot going on in those movies. It's all on screen, and he went back to that. He's good at, doing kind of weird shots that put you in a certain mood and portray a certain feeling, and using that to his advantage, and using atmosphere to make a really kind of freaky, terrifying movie in parts. And Split did that, and then at the end, you realize you've been watching a supervillain origin story the entire time. And it's my favorite experience in a theater the entire year. And it's been months.
My number one's in Switch. Talk about that. So
Well, I don't think anybody's have it, so there's not much to say.
it's great. That's it.
We do have our honorable worst pick of 2017 that we can all launch into. Who wants to go first with that one?
Mine's Bright. Honestly, it's Bright. There was something else, but then I watched Bright.
Oh man,
That's
that was so sudden.
Oh, I had to say it.
I still haven't watched it yet because
It's bad.
I just look. I understand. I was kind of on the defensive line for Max Landis for a long time because
really?
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 Hey, let me get to the point. I stood by a lot of the things he had to say that weren't terrible things because I didn't know he had said these terrible things. I like his he has a YouTube video called Regarding Clark, and it's how he was very upset with how they treated Superman and Man of Steel, and it's a very impassioned speech about what he thinks Zack Snyder did to that character, and it's like, you are someone who clearly gives a shit about this character so much that you're willing to get on camera and talk about it, and I respect that. And his hold on, I'll get there. His interpretation of the Death and Return of Superman is hysterical, and it features lots of weird celebrity cameos. Wrestling isn't wrestling is something that I would use to show someone like this is one of the best descriptions of pro wrestling I've ever seen. And his like kind of geeking out for it I find respectable. However, apparently he is a massive piece of shit who is nothing but a toxic human being.
Yep.
I did learn that his upbringing was very strange. He was put on lithium, I think, very young. That doesn't excuse his current
it does
behavior.
not. But that's
No,
weird.
it doesn't. It is weird. He was apparently shipped off to some private school very young. And then to learn
I get serial killers.
to learn that his father may have been covering up some of the more shitty things he did in Hollywood to protect him is all the more disconcerting. The coup de grace, when it was Andy who brought it up, he said, yeah, he was on record saying it's a privilege to sleep with him, and he bragged about abusing his ex-girlfriend. And that is indefensible, and I can't stand by anything with his name on it anymore.
So
Not at all.
Yeah.
one of my honorable mentions was shitting on Max Landis for 2017.
I think I'd prefer that, because I think by saying Bright, you're throwing David Ayer into a blender,
No,
and I don't
it's
think
not.
he deserves
You know
that.
what? I don't think he deserves it either because I think there's some Thars and Bright I like.
Yeah.
'Cause
Like,
I like the world around the central plot, but I cannot stand that it is a cop movie at all.
yeah, that's my biggest problem with it too. Is it's kind of just a generic cop movie, but with a theme, with a filter.
Yeah, with a
over
magic
it.
wand,
Right.
guys.
It looks like it looks like Alien Nation, but with orcs.
That's the movie.
Wow,
If-
Eric, that
if
fucking
this movie-
sigh is so telling.
If it was almost anything else, I'd be 100% more interested in it because the world is so fascinating. Because it's
Right,
like,
'cause I remember. Okay, so for those, I've known about Max Landis before he was ever like a well-known name, and there was a podcast he was on years ago. Anybody who ever listened to any of the Smodco stuff might know it. It's called Bagged and Boarded. Fun show, fun host. Max was on that show years ago. This is in like 2011, I think. So this is 6 years ago, and he was talking about this movie. And I remember hearing his pitch about it. And like one of the things that he wanted to show was like, you go to a gym and you're on the treadmill, and then on the treadmill next to you is a centaur. And then when you look outside or on the TV, you see a tank riding down the street with a dragon walking next to it.
Yeah, it's fucking cool. Like, I like it. Like,
Yeah.
I like the idea.
Yeah, that idea is great. It's not in the movie. There's a throwaway shot of a dragon in this movie that pissed me off, because it's like, so you're just gonna throw away that there are dragons in this world. You're just gonna
I
throw
forgot that
away.
was in it. You know what the worst part about this is? The second time that they teased us with a dragon.
Yeah.
Fucking
Hate it.
Netflix.
Just do it. Just do it.
Yeah.
Dragons, maybe? No.
Yeah. God damn it, Iron Fist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that all we want to say on Brett?
That's all I really had to say about it. Is I just wish it was not a cop movie.
Okay. Arlen, what's your worst thing of 2017?
I guess I'll say Iron Fist just because. I mean, why not? I don't have. There's nothing else that got as much scorn from me.
And me.
Like I would say, here's the thing. I struggled to say Justice League because I had fun watching Justice League.
I did too.
I'm going to get to that momentarily.
But yeah, so Iron Fist. So this is where we're not going to bring up Iron Fist again because we did.
You don't
want
know my
every
feelings
week.
on Iron
We have
Fist.
done more than enough work on Iron Fist to last a lifetime.
We did
Not too
6
much else to say.
hours, 6 golden hours. Go listen to them if you haven't. They're great.
They're great.
If you want to hear a bunch of people get really upset that they're watching,
If you want to hear my heartbreak live on podcast, it's great.
It's pretty good. It's some of our best stuff. And then you listen to Defenders right after and hear our like glee of things being fixed. But yeah, it's bad. it's really bad. Yeah, fuck boardroom scenes. We're back to the boardroom.
Well, based on what you just said, Connor, maybe you and I aren't going to have the same thing, but my worst thing of 2017 was Star Wars fans / just fandom in general.
Yep.
Shut the fuck
fair.
up.
It's not
That's
that's
my
not my pick.
response.
That's not my
childhood.
pick. But please, yes, I agree because let's go over the tidal wave that was November to December as far as fan reactions go. Allow me to interpret. 4. What is this, a comedy? Why are there jokes in my Space Vikings movie? Justice League comes out. What is this, comedy? What is this, a Marvel movie? Why are there jokes in this? God, I hate this. Star Wars comes out. Oh my God! Vomit, 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 vomit. Racism. Just bigotry left and right. Entitled
Why are
fans
there
left
jokes
and
in
right.
it?
Why are
You
there
don't like
jokes?
Asians in
Why
our
this? Why this? Why that? I own this. This is my movie, not yours. Blah blah blah. I'm over it. I am over entitled. Me fans. I am over people who keep throwing SJW in my face every time someone who's not white gets cast in a role. No one's coming after your race. Calm the fuck down.
Also, there's no such thing as the white race. Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up.
We're
There's
all
no such thing.
Fucking idiots.
Like I've been involved in nerd culture for a very long time, and there's always been a certain level of toxicity to it. I will completely admit to that. But it has gotten to a peak level to me. Like it's disgusting how exclusive some of these people are trying to make things. And guess the fuck what? You don't matter in the long run.
Yeah.
The only thing these companies care about is your money.
Yep,
And you need to shut the fuck up.
And you have happily paid it every single time,
You're all fucking
despite the
idiots.
diarrhea that comes out of your mouth. You want to really show your disinterest or your discontent with the product? Do what I do. Just block it from your life. I don't have a WWE subscription anymore. I don't watch their TV, and I haven't watched their pay-per-view since the summer. That product is dead to me, and I am much happier not thinking about it. And then when someone does remind me of it, I once again remember that it's terrible, and I laugh at it and walk away.
Yeah.
If you are no longer enthralled by something, and if it's no longer, I don't want to use the words for you because that also triggers people apparently, But if you don't like something anymore, take your shit,
Walk away.
walk
Here-
away.
Here's my kind of problem with it: is no one knows what they fucking want anymore. Like
No.
they just want to yell into the ether. That's all they want.
Yep.
They just
Yeah.
want.
They want
think
they
they're
want people
fucking-
to agree with them.
And when you ask them what was wrong and to defend why they didn't like something, which is a reasonable request, they freak out on you. And they
Yeah,
just
then
repeat
they
the
have-
same thing over
Then
and
they have
over
their
again.
girlfriend come in and yell at you.
See, and here's the thing, like with regarding Star Wars, my buddy from Movie Dumpster did not like Last Jedi. He and I have not had a one crossword yet.
Right.
Because everything I've said and everything he's said, both of us are like, okay, yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
And then that's it.
Yeah. It's called
That is it.
reasonable conversation about
But
subjects.
when your criticism of something is like when it makes it very obvious that A, you weren't paying attention and you just kind of want to sound hip or cool or interesting and you want to start a conversation that's all purely reactionary, or you interpret a movie in a way that is so appallingly off base, that's when you get shit thrown at you, deservedly so.
It's especially hilarious with Last Jedi because of what Last Jedi is about essentially. Like because
Mm-hmm.
it's a movie about like your heroes suck. Like essentially.
yeah.
It's about
Like-
destroying
And, like, when
the
I-
past to create a
when-
pathway for the future.
A friend of mine who I won't name, but he's Mr. Bad Take, who I've quoted in the chat room a bunch of times. He told me Logan was boring and predictable, and I was like, "You did not see the same movie other people did." He's like, "We all knew Logan was gonna die." I'm like, "Dude, the whole fucking
No.
world knew Logan was gonna die.
Fucking
That
shit.
was a given. That's the movie was about death. Okay, the movie
Wasn't him laying in the grass one of the posters?
dude, his bloody ass hand was in the trailer, like he was going to die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he hand waved all the seriousness away from it and only pulled these nonsensical things that he didn't like about it, and that was his assessment of the entire ordeal.
Oh, you mean
And I was like,
that,
that's not a respectable opinion. That's nitpickery.
that
Right.
sounds like that link to that review that I found about Last Jedi where somebody said it got too political. It burned down the past. Like, oh, you mean all the things that it did that were completely different and new and interesting in a Star Wars film?
Yeah. Like, this is... I had a similar problem with people who, last year when Rogue One came out, said it was too political. And also, this is my message
I don't think it
to
was
Nazis
political
again.
enough.
Yeah.
I don't understand my or people's aversion to when things get political.
Mhm.
I don't know where people have been for the last 100 years, but their entertainment has always been influenced by
yeah.
different political.
Entertainment is political.
Dude, go back and watch horror movies from the 40s and 50s. It's all about the fucking Red Scare and the secret agent who is infiltrating your country and the bomb and all this other stuff. It's stuff that's so tame and like you're like, oh, nuclear war. That's part of fucking everyday fear now, so it's not really that scary.
And for the 40s and 50s stuff, or about a black person dating your daughter.
Yes.
Like, it's all of these things that exist in the world around you, and you
Civil
can't
War,
expect.
The first Civil War event is rooted in the Patriot Act.
Yeah.
Of course it's all political. It's always been political.
You mean
Yeah.
space Nazis aren't political? What?
Like
They're
yeah,
Nazis.
like the
They're
most
fucking
the
Nazis.
most obvious allegory for Nazis ever, and people are like, it's too political. Motherfucker, it has always been.
I mean,
Yeah.
I can go back even further to before movies and before TV. Harry Houdini was political by saying that there is no such thing as ghosts. By saying that you cannot speak to ghosts, to
Dude,
spiritualism.
you know what?
That
I'll
was
go
a
back-
political stance.
I'll go back even further than that, because I'm kind of learning this through playing Assassin's Creed Origins. Way back when, if someone wrote a play that might have been inflammatory, you might have been killed for it.
Yeah.
If you spoke out against your political leader way back then, you were killed. So they did it
You know-
creatively through theater, and no one was the wiser.
Do you,
You know
really
what used
think
to be-
Hamlet was about Denmark? Do you honestly... I want people to be honest with themselves. Do you really think Shakespeare was writing about other people? Do you really think he wasn't
Yeah.
commenting on the time?
Did you know during presidential debates they would like argue about bloodline? Like back in the day, they would argue about bloodline and shit like that. Like
Also, like, especially in America, like, you want to get upset over the marriage of politics and entertainment. Let me really pull the curtain back for you. Politics embraced the idea of entertainment a long time ago. What do you
Yep.
think a presidential debate is? A presidential debate is a wrestling promo on TV with people in suits. That's all it is. It's
Yeah.
two people going, "Oh man, this fucking Sunday at the polls, I'm gonna buy it." It's the fucking campiest shit. It's completely unnecessary, and we do it for TV ratings. That's
Yep.
it. That's
Yeah,
all
it's
for.
advertisers.
Donald Trump
It's-
is president because this country loves entertainment. That man has a Hollywood star in the walk on the Walk of Fame. Like, we are a entertainment and celebrity obsessed society.
Yeah.
Stop
Yeah.
getting angry when politics get in your entertainment. Your entertainment's getting in your politics for years. Calm down.
When Nixon, he didn't lose the election because of this, but when he kind of loses an election because he looked nervous on TV, that's
Yeah.
when things started to blur, and saying that you want your politics and your entertainment separate became silly.
Ronald Reagan was a fucking actor. Okay.
Right.
He had a
That is
movie
a
where he
His
played with a
notable
monkey.
role was acting with a monkey.
He
Yes.
also
Yeah.
he also in his spare time he was the GE spokesman. That
Fuck.
like you would show videos of GE products and like him like being an ad guy for GE to children.
Yep.
Let me put a slam dunk on this, because that way we can see this topic for good. The current president of the United States of America, the sitting chief of staff, took a stone cold stunner at WrestleMania in front of thousands of people.
Yep.
Shut the fuck up and sit the fuck down. It's all a joke.
Yeah,
And by the way, it's the worst stunner in the history of stunners.
yeah.
So
Also,
yeah, just
Yeah.
go ahead.
no, I was gonna say, fun fact. If anybody who listens to Comic Bun, you probably heard this already. Donald Trump doesn't understand comedy. He doesn't understand
No.
jokes.
Yeah. He doesn't laugh. He doesn't laugh, period.
Yeah.
So just one last time, unless you are directly involved in making one of these things that you love, shut the fuck up.
Or have
Shut
a
up.
good
You
point
don't-
to
shut
make
up.
about it. Have a
Yeah,
good
exactly.
point. That
There are
That's better.
That's not. We're not saying there aren't good arguments against something you didn't like. There's
Right.
plenty of those. However, you're not loud enough, because the
Yeah.
people who are acting irrationally and childish are the ones who are loud, and that's the problem. And that's the sad part about it, is that they're always gonna be loud, and they're just gonna get louder. And
Yeah.
hopefully, along the line in the future, like there's a louder, or at least a more balanced part of the conversation, because
Yeah.
it's not very balanced right now.
Like-
Like there's a, not to keep going this, there is a petition to shut down Rotten Tomatoes for giving Last Jedi a high score, which is the most profound misunderstanding of anything I've ever seen.
God damn it.
Why
God damn it.
Okay. Why is it change.org or whatever? I don't remember what site it is. Why have they not banned the word Rotten Tomatoes from their subject lines?
Yeah, and like that's my favorite fanboy reaction of anger, is to petition to get a
Petitions.
website shut down.
Also,
That'll
how
solve
many
your
of these
problem.
things have we seen? How many of these petitions have we dealt with at this point?
Dozens and dozens. I think the same week there were people petitioning to get Zack Snyder fired, and people petitioning to get the Justice League final cut released to the theaters.
Yeah, and
They're
I mean,
they're all fucking idiots. 'Cause
and
they
when
can't.
Force Awakens
They think
came out, they wanted George Lucas back. Like, I don't. It's so dumb.
they just don't know what they want. They're all just yelling at the same time.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, so let's get to my worst pick of
Their coup de
2017.
grace.
Yeah, we
Like,
need to speed
uh,
through.
This is it won't be. This is not really. It's not too heavy of a conversation, but
This is our longest show ever, by the way.
So I was Justice League. Justice League is already out on YouTube in various forms. It's already out in It's already out in HD. Just Korean subtitles. That's it. So while falling down a YouTube rabbit hole, I came upon the Superman resurrection sequence. I was like, hey, cool, let's watch this. And then I watched it again. And then I watched it again. And then I watched it again because something was really bothering me about this sequence. And it hit me. Superman's entire reaction once he sees Batman is complete and utter horseshit. And it's a huge step back for whatever the fuck they were trying to do with this movie, and almost breaks the movie in half. Because it's completely... Superman
did you-
comes back and instantly gets a huge raging boner for murder,
So
grabs
here's the
Batman
thing.
by the face and growls in his face, "Do you bleed?"
So here's the thing. It stops the movie. Like,
It stops the movie dead.
yep, it's just like it's a dead stop.
Because it's one thing to get, like Diana's like, he's confused, doesn't know where he is. Okay. Does that excuse when he tried to turn Flash into pudding by punching him as hard as he could? If he connected with those shots, he would have murdered Barry. He beats the shit out of Wonder Woman. He headbutts her into the fucking cement, and then threatens to murder Batman in front of the police.
So
Then
you-
Lois rolls up and screams, "Clark!" That cat's out of the fucking bag.
so
She just identified a dead man in public as the Superman. Fuck you. Fuck the entire scene.
I was having a conversation about this recently. I described it as, have you ever seen the Disney roller coaster Expedition Everest?
No.
You know what that is? So it's Mount Everest, and there's a point where you reach tracks that are like ripped up from the ground, and then the roller coaster starts to go backwards. That's how I felt watching that scene.
It's such a huge step back, and like it is the most unnecessary callback to Batman vs Superman in the entire film.
It's
And
like, why
it
would you do
completely,
this?
Like all you needed to do was have him backhand Bruce, grab Lois, and say, "I don't trust you. I will never trust you. Leave me and my family alone."
Yeah.
That is what Superman would have done, not grab him by the face and threaten to kill him in broad daylight where virtually an entire city can see you because you're in a big fucking open field.
In front of a giant statue of
in front
yourself.
of the statue of you, in front of the police. It doesn't matter if Batman's a wanted vigilante. He's still a man, and he wasn't fighting you, and you threatened to kill him.
To be fair
What
about the
in
Clark
the
thing,
fuck?
to be fair about the Clark thing, like, he's a god. What are they gonna do?
I mean, yeah, but like at the end of the movie, he's in disguise and like the fucking farm. I'm like, what is the relevance of this? Why are you
Yeah.
hiding? Why'd
Yeah.
you tuck into the alleyway to take off your trench coat if Lois can run into public and scream your first name in front of a bunch of law enforcement? Like that wouldn't take much for them to be like, hey, yeah, she showed up and called him Clark. Like a guy runs a newspaper in that city. That's probably not going to go very far before he gets to him and be like, Lois knows a guy named Clark who's also Superman. Oh fuck.
Yeah, like that.
It's
the
completely
whole sequence,
illogical, and I find it detestable and offensive. And the fact that I got called out in it today really bothers me.
It's bad.
That's
not
my
great.
least favorite thing about 2017 because I didn't think about this pick too much because I sat down. I was like, 2017 was a year where I liked a lot of shit and not a lot bothered me. And I didn't go with Iron Fist because I was like I said, it's bad, but who cares?
Well, and we cover that almost every episode.
Yeah,
Somebody
yeah.
makes an Iron Fist comment.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's
When-
that. That's my closing thing.
Yeah. Well, time to all get swept away by tornadoes.
Well, sometimes
The thing
I
about
close out a
2017
podcast and what's
Yeah,
funnier
your
is like
heroes
as
die,
he's
Clark.
as like the tornado's like sweeping him away, he's still going. He's like, well, Clark, sometimes you just gotta go.
Well, actually, the effect would be he would be getting quiet as he went further away, and then his point would come back around, and you'd hear different points, but not the full conversation as he's
So
being
like
sucked
someone
away.
going in and out of a nap, like
Yeah, exactly.
he comes in, he's like, well, Clark, you can sometimes just gotta go. That's why you let the horses die sometimes, so you can go. And then you let the farm burn down. And
Exactly.
oh, that joke will never die. But I think we
No,
should
it's
cut
so
now because
funny.
It's been a long show.
It's like 1:30 a.m. here, so we should have cut
Yeah,
it.
Yeah.
give or
Short.
take.
I need
Yeah,
to be
late
up in
start.
6 hours also.
Yeah, I have to be up in about 5, so.
Okay.
About 9. I'm good. Time travel. Yeah.
Anyways, so
I'm
Yeah.
not gonna do an extended plug. Everyone knows who the fuck I am.
yeah, you fucking know where to find me.
Space Columbo. You look for it. You'll find me somewhere.
If you try to follow me on Twitter, I'll tell you to go fuck off. So
Well, I will say that maybe my Twitter activity will be resurrected because I've resurrected your pal Eobard Thawne, and I'm probably going to start a Twitter page for him and harass DC celebrities.
Nice.
Mainly, I want to ask. The first thing I want to do is make the Twitter account and ask Grant Gustin what his mother's name is, and then say asking for a friend.
I have
Fun.
no plugs.
But on that note, yes, I'm Connor. That's Eric. There's Arlen. There's Hunter, and that was 2017. Bye.
Bye.
we.
Oh,
Fuck X-Men
okay.
Apocalypse.
Fuck you, whiny fans.
Fuck all y'all. And watch David Ayer's earlier movies.
Yeah, watch Fury. That's a good movie.
Yeah, some good tank fights. You get some John Bernthal too. It's pretty good.
Yes.
I'm gonna fight a tank.
He doesn't body slam a tank.
I'm gonna load the shell.
Fury 2. John Bernthal body slams a tank.
Doesn't he die in that movie?
I think he does.
Yeah.
Everybody
He-
dies
it's-
at the end of that
look,
movie.
It's the sequels. He comes back as a tank. Goodbye, everybody.